It's such a calm and peaceful morning this morning. I wanted to come out here fairly early and just soak it all in, just kind of enjoy the peace and quiet. I got my shower taken and did a few chores, made myself a hot, fresh cup of coffee, and wanted to get out here. Fall time is definitely showing itself. It's kind of funny. I made a video not that long ago, a couple weeks maybe, made the comment, do you see any signs of fall? And I was just kind of seeing little bits and pieces. And now, all of a sudden, it's like in 2 weeks, it's just like, whew, page got turned and fall is on its way. One sign you can tell is I pulled out my flannel shirts because the mornings are cool now, and it was not like this just two weeks ago. And by the afternoon, I'll be in shorts, and later afternoon, probably swimming. And by evening, I'm back into flannel shirts and my leggings. But in any case, my name is Crystal, and welcome to my channel, Homemaking on the Homestead. And I am doing a little episode of Homemakers Journal, just sharing with you some of the things going on in my life in the last few weeks. Hi guys, I am interrupting this video for just a brief minute to apologize for the sun hitting the camera lens. I had no idea that was happening. I really don't have time to go back and refilm that, so I didn't realize it till I got to the point here where I was editing it, and it's like, oh my goodness. It doesn't last through the whole video, so I hope you'll be patient and understanding that it was just one of those filming mistakes, and I'll certainly be more careful about that in the future. All right, you guys, back to the video. I feel like I've had a lot going on, but it's not been, it's a lot of homemaking, just a lot of little projects and things, but it's been very peaceful. I finally get to the point in summer where I am so ready to just be done with summer. I'm definitely over it. But at the same time, I know that it won't be that much longer, and I'll be waiting for warm days and tired of the cold and tired of rain and things like that. So sometimes the best thing to do is to just embrace and enjoy what you have for the moment. So while I'm eagerly awaiting fall, I am not going to give up on summer quite yet. My daughter and I and my grandkids recently went to pick peaches, and that was a lot of fun. It's an orchard that we've been to before. They have all kinds of things available throughout the summer, whether it's blueberries and cherries and peaches, and as fall time comes, it's pears and apples. And so we decided to just do some new picking of the peaches, and it was a really nice morning. We spent a few hours. It's quite a little bit of a drive, and the kids love it up there, and there's things for them to do, and so we just decided to hang out there, took a lunch, and got all of our peaches. It was a super nice time. She got much more than I did. I think she's got like 35 quarts of peaches already canned for her family for the winter. I picked 10. I wasn't quite as ambitious as she was and turned some of them into jam, which you probably saw that video, or if you haven't, I'll link it somewhere, either on the video or down below. And I turned mine into jam and peach syrup, and then we just enjoyed eating them. But I feel like now I've had my fill of peaches. Somehow I think that that's kind of how it needs to be with, fresh fruits, and trying to eat more in season when it's here, just enjoy it to its max until you can't take it anymore. Then it's time to move on to the next season and the next fruit. The other morning, my husband and I went out and took a walk. It was still fairly early, before 7 o'clock, and the first thing that caught our attention was we could still see the moon, and it was a full moon. And that was so just so beautiful to see. And once again, made me just think of fall days because it was cool and you could see the moon. So one of the crazy things that we have been kind of watching on our walk was this plant. And the plant was just growing so rapidly, and its leaves were just turning out to be huge. And I kept saying, you know, what is this? The other day, I had my husband stand next to it. Now he's 6'2", just about, I think, around there. And you can see that the tree is, plant, whatever, is much bigger, taller than he is. And that's just been happening in the last few months. So that definitely got me curious. I decided to go and plug it into my favorite plant identifier app, which is Plant Snap. We went out for a walk a day or so too later, and somebody had cut it down. It was kind of sad, but that was the point that I thought, okay, that's right, I want to research this. I hadn't got to it yet. So I researched it. Well, it is a tree, and it's called a Royal Empress tree. They come from China. They figured that they were brought here back in the late 1800s. The flowering seeds were often used at that time because they were so big for packaging, and they figured that's how it came to the United States. But apparently it can grow to 32 feet high, which is huge, and it puts out apparently a gorgeous flower. But the biggest problem that here in the Northwest, it's now considered an invasive species because it grows so fast and is so prolific that it wipes out areas where fir trees and forest things and the native plants would normally grow. So obviously whoever cut it down, one of my neighbors on their walks or whatever, knew exactly what it was and decided he would take care of it, or she would take care of it. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. So on my last Homemakers journal, I had shared this big stretch of Queen Anne's lace that was not far from our house, and I had taken my granddaughters down there and gave them a little information talk or whatnot about Queen Anne's lace and all it's good for. And seriously, that was just a few weeks ago. Well, this is what it looks like now. Most of it's going to seed, and there's still a few smaller ones trying to keep growing, but it's definitely, for me, another sign of fall as all of these plants are starting to dry up. I got set up all over here by the pond, and you could see the reflection of the house, and you can see the dock, and then all of a sudden the chickens started laying eggs. So they're in there clucking away. I'm going to hope that you can't hear it, but maybe in the faint distance. For some reason, whenever I feel like it's fall is in the air and it's coming, I kind of kick into gear with my soap making. I don't make that much soap anymore. Of course, I used to sell it online, but I don't do that anymore. So I kind of make soap for us and for my family. I like to give it away to my kids as gifts or just whatever, whether it's Christmas or just for the heck of it. And it's always well received. Soap really isn't that difficult to make. I have a few videos on here on making soap. I think the first time doing it is, all the uncertainty of working with the lye and working with different things that make a person get a little nervous. But after you make it once, I know for me, I just kind of took off. I had a friend from the church we were going to at the time, and she came to my house and showed me how to make soap. And after that, it was like, okay, I got this. This is no big deal. I make it in the crock pot, so it's a hot process soap, and you have to kind of cook it all the way through the process. That's the idea, rather than pouring it into the molds when it's still really liquidy, and then waiting 6 or 8 weeks until you can use it. This can pretty much be used right away. However, it's kind of soft, so I always let it sit for a few days before I cut it. I got this cutter last year or earlier, I think maybe in January or something, and the soap molds and this soap cutter, and I just absolutely love it. I love the little rippled edges that it gives the soap. It's just a lot of fun. In this batch, I put some shea butter in it, or shea butter. I don't know. I keep hearing it pronounced differently online, but anyway, I had never used that in my soap before, and so it was a pretty basic recipe with coconut oil and olive oil and then a little bit of this shea butter. And I have to say, I am so impressed with that. The soap was still, after a couple days, was kind of sticky, so I carefully cut it, but it's been drying now for about 3 weeks, and I just am in love with it. It leaves my skin feeling so soft. So I'm looking forward to making another batch of that here pretty soon. Several weeks ago, I had gone to the fabric store and got fabric to make a couple aprons, and of course I did a tutorial. So if you follow my channel, you probably already saw my making your own apron tutorial. I kind of start you with how to make the pattern all the way to the finished apron. If you haven't seen that one, I will certainly link that below. I had bought the fabric for a second one, but just never had a chance with so much going on to make it. So that was another project I had in the works in the last couple of weeks. I finally got my second apron done, and I really like it. It's just so fun to be able to make it, and these go together pretty quickly. There you can see the finished product. I'm looking all model-like. I haven't really posted a whole lot of recipes. I've posted some, but mostly because I haven't been cooking anything really that interesting, and I think I talked about that in the last video. But one of the things that I started doing as a side dish, and I just wanted to share it in this, is I've done roasted potatoes for a long time. Well, I had gone to my normal grocery store, Winco, and they didn't have any mushrooms. And maybe they just hadn't restocked them, I don't know. And so when I got to Costco, of course, my option was a great big, package of mushrooms. I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to figure out how to use these, get creative and add mushrooms to everything. So I bought them, and one of the ways that I have been using them, and we ended up just absolutely loving it, is doing roasted potatoes and mushrooms. And I cut up my potatoes into bite-sized pieces. I keep my mushrooms pretty big, so they're large mushrooms anyway, so I quarter them. If they're smaller, I just cut them in half, because they shrink a lot when you're roasting them. And then I add a little bit of olive oil to that, and a tablespoon of my homemade ranch dressing mix, the dry powder, as you can see. And then I just mix that all together and throw it onto my tray. Bake it in the oven. I usually try to do like 400, 425, something like that, as long as it takes potatoes golden brown. And we have just loved that for a side dish, so it's kind of one of my go-tos I keep going back to. I hope you all are doing well. You can leave me a comment. Let me know what has your homemaking life been up to lately. What kind of projects have you been working on? I would like to know. So that wraps up this episode of Homemaker's Journal. Little bits and tidbits of my life, day in the life, weeks in the life, whatever. So I hope that you enjoyed this and it gave you some inspiration in your life as a homemaker. And I will see you all next time. Alrighty, bye-bye.